All right, we are on to our next panel, the music panel. I think we're very excited for this one.
Well, again, thank you all for being here. It's kind of, there's many friends, obviously, in this room, and there are many new friends. Thank you all for being here. This all kind of came about. I go to the scoring stages on a fairly regular basis, and my community's hurting. And I say that to our esteemed colleagues here who hopefully will fight for us. I get to experience the sorrow that's kind of going through our community. And so I thought this night was really important that we got together and talked because, this is a pretty depressing night, but I think it's a very hopeful night that we can all come together. I've seen it with people like Harvey and other people in this industry and many of the leaders here in this room. I think we can make a difference, and we're going to have to work together. So we just did a quick kind of graph of where we are in our world. And as you can see, the scoring stages peaked in about 2022 in terms of their work with the streaming influx. And then we've had a steady decline. And the stages are actually averaging about 3 to 5 days a month of work on these beautiful stages. And the crews don't have guarantees like they used to, so they only work when they're called to work. So it's a very, very trying time right now for all our people. And so, again, I throw it out there that we need to try and do something to save our crews and also save our iconic scoring stages. The thing I want to say is these crews are very unique. The skill sets that all these people have, are unique, just like we have our own skill sets and musicians and filmmakers. And there's no one really coming up behind them that's inspired to do this job, because why? Why would you do it? So we need to inspire people to come up and follow this career path. So again, I really wanted to highlight this tonight, not as a blame situation, but kind of as how do we come together as a community to help one another? Because that's who I've been about my whole life, and I think it's time that we find ourselves all working together to make that happen. So I wanted to also share, we can go to the next slide. You'll see kind of the inverse of where runaway production has gone. I mean, basically, we're completely opposite of where we were. Between 2001 and 2023, we've basically flipped in terms of projects that are going to foreign countries to score. This is a huge loss in taxes for our state, a huge loss in wages for our community. And as our video started out, this affects people who own restaurants and own businesses all around these studios. We used to, when Tadeo was a studio thriving, we would go down Ventura Place and we'd have lunches all the time. And you go there now, there's just nothing. They're like, it's just very sad. So again, I want to try and be as uplifting as I can because I'm a believer in change and that we can make a difference. But it's going to take everybody in this room to do something to make this happen. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jasper now, who has got something to say about the singing community.
Yes, well, when you think about music and you think about the industry, you automatically think of orchestras. You think of the instrumentalists, the violinists, the percussionists and such that form the basis of our music. But along with that is a very vibrant and important community of singers. Many of these scores have choirs on them and singers and small groups and such that we've worked with over the years. And they too have been affected. About a year ago or about 2 years ago, I decided to do a deep dive in what I was sensing was an additional loss of work on the singer side of things. And what I found was pretty shocking. Now, before you get excited about a graph that's going up, I wanted to clarify that this upward graph is losses of jobs and wages, not an increase in work. I took a very conservative look across the metrics of what we do to the numbers of projects that were going out of town. And keep in mind that, generally speaking, where a film scores, they score. Where they do the orchestra, they're going to do the choir. Logistically, it makes no sense to come back to Los Angeles to do a choir. It's very rare and few and far between when that happens. I understand that. As a composer myself, why would you go somewhere else to do another part of your picture? So that's rare. So generally, we're the baby thrown out with the bathwater. Where they go to score, so does the choir work. We're part of SAG. We're day players, much like my colleagues here as well. But if they go outside the United States, they can do that. They're allowed to hire that, non-union singers outside of the continental U.S. So looking at a very conservative metric, the minimum that we as a community of singers would lose per film, a 3-hour session, the minimum you can hire us, a 40-piece choir, when many times overseas they're much bigger than that, 60 and 80. They're hired for entire days. Even the back end, projecting an average over the lifetime, even though it's in perpetuity, the lifetime of these projects, a very conservative number on the back end. When you project that over the last 20 years, and in fact, in the 15 years that this is based on, we lost $36 million worth of wages. That's not even the contributions attached to that. That's a very conservative estimate. If you were to project a more realistic estimate, it's upwards of $54 million. Those are dollars in our pockets that we don't stuff under the mattress. We spend at the coffee shops. We spend at the restaurants. We spend into the local economy. Those dollars are taxed back into the state's tax base. So again, a very conservative estimate, but one that has had a tragic ripple effect through the singing community. And it's one of those things where there's very little that we can do because we are part of a larger problem when that goes overseas. So that's just, a projection of where we are as a singing community.
Harvey, you have...
Well, thank you. That's Jasper, right?
Yeah, Jasper.
I don't have any spectacular graphics, but...
You do now.
No. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
But what I will say is, and I'm just the music guy, I've been making music my whole life. I've been writing songs, I've been doing film and TV projects, and you heard from some amazing panelists. I was kidding when I said we were the best panel. These people were so smart and so intelligent about how they told the story of what's happening. I'll just give you my perspective. I grew up as a kid in LA. My dad was a musician. And I used to ride some of the cartage boxes up and down this hallway, right out here, when I was little, and my dad was doing 3 sessions a day. And come full circle, now I'm one of the partners in the studio, and I see this was a thriving scoring stage for many, many, many years. And it's not so anymore. And it's sad because what I see from my perspective, both as a musician, as a creator, but also working at the Academy, is young people don't aspire to be the next version of us. When I was a kid and I saw all the musicians and Edie Bodeker's here, I remember Michael Bodeker was a keyboard player that was amazing. Woo! And I used to sit at sessions and watch Michael Bodeker because he was so incredible. And I used to watch my father and all the other musicians that he worked with, and I was inspired. We don't have that anymore. We don't have those musicians who the young next generation are looking at and saying, I want to do that for a living. Those people are all going out of the country. All the people that are dreaming of playing in studios like this beautiful place are leaving LA and they're going somewhere else. And as a musician, that's hard for me to accept. And as somebody whose job it is to advocate for music people, there are great musicians all around the world, but I think there's some really special musicians in LA.
Harvey, I have a question for you. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that Music Cares has been doing to help the victims of the January wildfires?
Sure. It feels like maybe a little bit off the topic of where we're headed, but I'll talk a little bit about it. I think we have to do more to help our music community beyond the fires. I think we got to figure out a solution to help our community every day, whether there's fires or strikes or other things that happen in COVID. So during COVID, I know you didn't ask us, we raised almost $30 million that went back into the music community to help people who had lost wages, lost jobs During the fires, we turned the Grammy show into a purpose-driven fundraising event. We raised during the weekend another $30 million. So far, $10 million of that has gone into the music community specifically. We're doing small grants initially for people that need help, just food and shelter. Next phase, we'll start doing instrument replacement, studio rebuilds. These are the kind of things that Music Cares exists to do, and this is why the Academy is important. And that's actually why I work in the role at the Academy. I love the trophies, I love the Grammys. You have some Grammys, right?
No.
You have Grammys?
I don't.
Maybe, I don't know.
But if you have any to give, I'll take one.
Well, it's not my fault. But
mine either.
the reason, I love the Grammys, I love the trophies, I love the statuettes, but the reason that I'm passionate, what I wake up excited about every day is doing things like this, advocating for our music community, trying to make a difference to people, like me or the next version of me or my pops and the people that I grew up with. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for everyone attending because you care. As much as I love hearing all the information, seeing the graphs, I just hope we get to a point where we can start thinking about what do we do? Because we know it's not right. We know it's not healthy. We know we can't sustain this. LA won't survive. Our industry won't survive. The next generation of creators won't thrive. So today is probably not that session, but I look forward to having the conversation where we all start throwing ideas and we start talking, okay, what can I do? What can I contribute? What can you contribute? And how do we build a solution? Because to me, that's when we'll start making up some ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even know if I want to go on. Basically, the charts we have just are symbolic of what's happening in our community. We'll just hit these fast because I do want to get to exactly what Harvey said. The whole point of this meeting is to generate forward movement because we're going to have to. Because I've been thinking about this, if we don't get these tax credits, if there isn't a scoring or a post-production carve-out, what is the next step? And we have to think of that, all of us in this room, because we have to survive. And so it's going to take some very serious, hard conversations with everybody, including our unions, including the people who have a lot of incredible ideas that are on the other side of the table, and the people who are doing this work. So I hope we can all be open and honest and just completely integrated into this conversation. We know that all this work is going overseas. If LA costs 100%, London is 80%. Bratislava is 11%. So for someone living in Los Angeles to try and make a living, we can't compete against these places. And the other thing is London, they have healthcare that's given to their musicians. They have pensions that are given to their musicians. So when I do a budget to try and compete against London, even though our musicians make less money, and we can go to that next slide really quick. So on an average, the musicians in London make about $147 an hour, and the musicians in LA make about $117. You see all the pricing around the world. We have to add taxes, we have to add health and welfare and pension, and so our rates go up. So we're kind of in a place where I can't even compete anymore. The budgets, I'm sure all my contractor friends, Tim and everyone else in the room, we just can't compete. So it's so important that we get some support, that we get some tax incentives that can level that playing field. I hear people talk about we need to be apples to apples with everyone else.
Yeah.
We can't be.
That's everyone else.
Yeah.
Who in the room can afford to work on 10 cents of the dollar? At some point, you can only chase the bottom so far. And to that point, one of the reasons you're looking at $117 an hour, which looks pretty good, except for the fact that when there's no work, it means nothing. And even at that rate, we live in one of the most expensive cities to live. And if you were to do a steady session work of 3 doubles a week for 50 weeks of the year, a level of work that we haven't seen in a long time, you couldn't provide for a family of 4. That's not even counting savings. That's not even counting childcare or all those kinds of things. It's like the metrics, it just does not, does not add up. It does not add up.
We can skip ahead to the slide number 9, which is, the other factors are at play that, we have shrinking budgets. No fault of anyone, just the industry is not doing as great. Well,
there is a fault. It's corporate greed. Yeah.
Well, to that point, I'm a businessman. Why would I not chase what's best for the dollar? So we cannot force the hands of the corporations that are out there. That's been proven. Whether you're the union, whether you're a segment of the industry, you cannot force these corporations to do something that's not going to make good business sense. I sit in these negotiating committees at SAG-AFTRA on this code across the table, and I tell my colleagues that we can spend as much time as we want here, but if we walk out of that room and the solutions we reach do not make good business sense, we have wasted our time, and we've wasted the time of our members. So the fact that we cannot strong-arm, for lack of a better term, our employers, what's the option? It's incentivizing.
Yeah, but also another way of thinking of it, not to be argumentative, it is business, and yes, it's the dollar, and that is what drives a lot of the decision making, but at any point, are we going to just start talking about the art and the creativity and what we put into this stuff?
Absolutely.
And I know that doesn't land with a lot of people, but for us in this room, we can talk about it. And we can think about how we utilize the benefit of our incredible musicianship, our creativity, and continue to make special things that can also be profitable.
Absolutely. And in all the conversations I've had, many of you in the same here in this room about this situation, I hear a lot of ideas from the music departments, from professionals, from instrumentalists, from singers, and everything. I hear a lot of ideas. Very few of those ideas, however, hard to say, look inward. They're always someone else's solution. This corporations, if only the unions would bend. The unions, if only the corporations would bend. All of us, if only the legislators would bend. And what we need to understand, and I think we all in this room do, is that we are all spokes on a wheel. And this is going to take a lift from every part of this equation. The studios committing to the art and the history that we have here in town. The legislatures realizing that the tax rate of 0 is 0. So whether they want to pit Northern California against Southern California, the rich kids against the poor kids, the classes, the caste system, whatever you want to do, the fact that California is being lapped is embarrassing. Why is there even a cap? Why is there a cap? Open the floodgates for 1 year and see what happens. If $1 equates to 24 in revenue, I'd do that all day, every day.
Yeah.
Why are we even talking about a cap? Open it up.
Yeah, Jasper.
And to your point of the artistry and stuff, we've gotten away from that, and I say we, the larger picture, the people who loved this art and built the studios from that has now become a corporate environment where it's all about the almighty dollar, and the heart and soul of this community is being crushed by that. So we need to break through that and shout from the rooftops, as you're doing, about the heart and soul of this industry and how much we love it. And it's going to take pain and a lift from all of us. Yes, it's going to take the studios spending a little more money. It's going to take more tax incentives. It's going to take a lift from all of us, because without that, it is all downhill. And we cannot let that happen. It's easy to think about it in the context of our own bills and our own responsibilities, our own families. That's very real. It's very near and dear. But to your point, it's about the future. It's about the legacy. And as was said before by a couple of our fabulous panelists, do we really want to be the ones that let this industry go away? Not on our watch. It cannot happen. It will not happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jasper. Question for you. On that residual slide, can you clarify what we saw there? That the graph is low in recent years.
Was that to me?
Yes.
Well, residuals are very complicated. I get asked many times by clients and fellow colleagues, and thank you for my fellow contractors and singers that are here today representing our community. Much love to you. It's very complicated. Keep in mind that there are many different tiers of residuals. There's many different structures. Streaming is different from theatrical film. Television is different from streaming. The way that it's figured, as far as whether it's an unmoving pot of a percentage of money that's shared, or it's based on monies earned. But every metric of those is going down. So if someone says, well, the wages are going down, but at least you have your residuals, well, those are going to shit too. So at some point, it doesn't add up. It's too complicated to get into the metrics of what it makes up. All I know that every projection of every residual is straight down.
I think because we're running long, I just want to kind of close our segment by saying this. We need to, as a community, we need to modernize without cannibalizing what we have. We need to figure out a way to talk across the aisle with our partners and our friends, people who are in this industry, who are in the same positions of making decisions of where things are going to go, what's going to happen. I think it's really important that we ask the question of what is it that, we have to come together and talk. What is it that you need to make this work? Well, what do we need? And coming to an agreement together, sometimes I think we miss the mark because we're just adversarial against one another. And I understand when you say corporate greed and everything else, but I know the people I work with, and I know the people I talk to on a daily basis, and they care a lot about us. I can't speak for the people above them, but the people I work with on a daily basis, they love us, and they really want to do things here. But their hands are often tied too. So I think we really need to come together and find out what it is, and then we need to talk to our unions and to the people who are with us to see what can possibly be done without cannibalizing what we have and what we've built and the safeties and securities we have, but to offer a new place where we can grow together, because the industry isn't what the industry was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's obviously different. And so we need to be wise about how we're handling these things. And I say to the people who are in this room, who hire me, who hire Harvey, who hire Jasper, and I'm not kissing your butts, I'm just saying, we appreciate what you are doing and what you are trying to do, because without you, we don't survive. And I believe that, to Harvey's point, there's so much beautiful talent and beautiful spirit in this community that we want to be here for you. So let's talk. And I think the whole point, like I said, of tonight, this was my dream to have this happen here with such amazing counterparts, such amazing partners to talk about our community. So I'm hopeful that something is going to come about from this. And again, as I said to both of you gentlemen, we need you. We need you to give us a lift up so that the rest can kind of organically come together. So whatever that takes, if it's 1 million phone calls, if whatever it is, we are here to do that tonight.
Go, please.
Have we started having that dialogue? Maybe you have independently, but is there space for us to just start saying, we've got some amazing people in the room tonight. What is it that we need to change to enable you to keep some of that work here? Is that a dialogue that...
We can't be afraid to hear people's opinions. We need to hear what people are talking about, and we need to be able to listen to them. I think a lot of times we don't listen. We just think this is my way, this is your way, and there's nothing that comes together in the middle. And I think, Harvey, you've always been a bridge builder, and that's what I love about you. I think it's going to take leaders like you, leaders like me, leaders that are in this room to come together. And I hope tonight is the start of that. And I hope it's not just everyone goes home, eats a taco, and then we start over again, because we can't do that anymore.
So what are the next steps?
Well, that's a good question.
Well,
Give us the homework.
Okay. Ben.
please,